So in today's video, we're going to cover 9 suggestions for developers of VBA to follow. This should be followed whether you're using Access, Excel, Outlook, any kind of coding, actually in any language, but in VBA, these are some tips and tricks to make sure that you use. The first thing we're going to use is a break. So within this gray space here in the IDE window, we can go ahead and click there. That will add what's called a break. You can also do Control F9 if you want to use that as well. So when I run this code and I click this button, it's going to stop here. The second suggestion is to use modules. So you can see in my sheet, this is the only code that I have. The majority of my code is actually in module 1. This is really good so that if somebody accidentally deletes a sheet, you don't lose all of your code. So if I step through, I use F8 on my keyboard to step through this. So the next suggestion number 3, is to use option explicit. So this forces you to declare all of your variables. Sometimes it is nice just to be able to use variables and not declare them, but when you're writing code that you want to be stable and you want to be used long term, it is important to make sure that that is used and you're using your variables correctly. The next thing is to save this. So in my code, every piece of code that I write, as I'm writing it, I have this in here so that I can save that code as it runs each time. Because usually I'm running it from the start of the macro. So this is good so that if there's something detrimental, if Excel crashes, whatever happens, I've got the most recent thing. If you don't have this, you then have to rely on the autosave functionality, which isn't great, and you're going to end up losing some of your code. So this is a great way to make sure that you're saving your code as you go. Once you're done, you can always comment that out at the end. Next thing is to use error handling. So error handling allows for the code to then skip to the error. We're going to force that how to work in a minute, so you can see the error handling all the way through. So we'll come back to that. The next thing is comments. You can see here I have comments set up so that I can see what I'm doing. This is really useful not just for myself but for a future developer. For comments, you can go into tools and then go into options, go into editor format, and then if you click on comment text, you can change the color of your comment text here. So it is sometimes nice to use a nice bright color like say pink, because then it really stands out your comments. The next thing is variables. So like I said, option explicit forces those variables to be declared. Here you can see I've got integers and longs. So I've declared those, all 3 of my variables. And that's actually the next tip, is to make sure that you're using your variables correctly. Integers go up to a certain number, longs go up to a longer number, a higher number. So if you're going through a set of data, say you're looping through a set of data, and there's more than, it's about 32,000 rows, you may want to use long instead of integer. The only thing to think about when you do this is if you have not exited your code correctly and you're looping through, let's say a sheet, and you wanted to stop at the bottom of your, if you wanted to stop at the bottom of where your data ends, and you think that's on row 120,000, and you don't have the correct code in, and you have this set to long, it will just keep going. It will keep going until it gets to the end of the sheet, which is over 1 million rows, and it may freeze up your sheet. So just something to think about, but highly suggest that you use long and integers correctly. Tip number 9 is to use the full name of the sheet instead of just using active sheets, just sheets. You can use sheet with a number 3 on this, or 4, whatever the number is of the sheet count. So this will allow for this to be used and actually put it on the right place. Obviously, somebody may rename your sheet. That can happen. But I see a lot more often that people insert sheets, move sheets, do things like that, and that will completely screw up your code. So this code is working, so that's fine. Don't forget to exit your sub before your error. So talking about errors, let's go back and let's actually create an error here. So we're going to drag this up, and then we're going to step this back through. And what you're going to see is once the error created, it's 100 divided by 0, which is not possible. It's skipped down to the error handle. And that's because we said here if there is an error to go down to error handle. So error handle, I've got this written out. I've got the error number. I've got the description. Now, if I know that there's certain types of errors that happen, I could say if error dot number equals 11, then you could have a different message box or whatever you want to add there. So not divisible. So now when I step through this, what's going to do is it's going to jump straight down here. It knows it's error number 11, and then it's going to put a nice clean error. So that's up to you how you handle that. I like to do that when I know that there's a common error that may come up, so that it can be really understandable by the user. This method will at least allow it to be a little bit more understandable. This is also great because then they can send you a print screen. You can see exactly what it is. You can see the error number and the error description as well. And then you can also add other data in there if you want. Like I could display the values of int A and int B in that if I wanted to. So one bonus tip. When you're using variables and you're setting these for, let's say, integers. So this one here, I originally called int B. If this really is going to be a long, I'm going to change this to long B. And then I'm going to put this in all the places that int B was. This tells me as I go through my code later on, I know that this is set with a long variable versus an integer variable for int A. And that can be great. You get through, a couple hundred lines of code, you forget how you set those. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Please also share. Please go ahead and check out my other videos on my page. Have a great day.